What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise live here on a Monday night. Today, we got a fun little stream for you guys. We're going to discuss who we think are going to lead your Portland Trail Blazers this upcoming season in multiple statistical categories. We'll run chat polls. We'll get your thoughts. And we'll start to preview the season as this is the second to last stream of August. We're getting into September here soon. Can't wait for it. We got our fantasy draft a week from today. Might stream it, might not. We're still figuring that out. I don't know if I'm going to stream it this year, but if you guys really want me to, I might. Eric's rocking the 49ers gear. I love it. Eric, what's going on, man? How's it going?
What's up, Tori? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Just watched my Mariners get a nice win, so feeling good about that. And yeah, just ready to kind of I thought this would be a fun stream just to talk about who we think is going to be like points per game leader, 3-point percentage leader, just random stats. We can even discuss turnover leader, you know, for all the Scoot haters out there that want to scream his name for a bad stat. All jokes aside, yeah, I think it's going to be fun to talk some stats. What were you up to this weekend? Because you were like 5 minutes away from me in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, my daughter is on a competitive soccer team, and she had a tournament up in Vancouver this weekend. So I spent the entire weekend from the moment I got off work until Sunday, late Sunday, in Vancouver.
You were
Camas.
Oh, you were at a hotel up here?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Like yeah, hotel in Salmon Creek area?
We stayed by the Vancouver Mall because it was kind of in between where some of our games was. So,
got you. Yeah. So Eric got to learn my exit off I-5, and yeah, nice little area. So he said, yeah, I'm at the Fuller Sports Complex. I was like, what the hell is that? And then I looked it up. Oh, HB Fuller. I literally played Little League there.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. I didn't do a whole lot today. I bought some like prints for my wall next to my TV, and I bought a new car key for my battery. That's what I did this weekend. Very uneventful. So chat, let me know if you guys did anything fun this weekend.
I ran into someone who had already met you in person and was very excited to meet me as well. So,
oh, who's that?
Patrick Morehouse.
Oh, Patrick. Yeah.
He met you at a game, I think.
Yeah, because he was working Moda Center. I was going to... See, you were starting that story, and I was about to say, everybody always runs into you. They never run into me, but that's something that's running into both of us, so that's cool.
Does running into one of us at a game count as running into each other in the wild?
I mean, it's not...
I don't know.
It counts as meeting us, but it doesn't count as running into us.
Yeah.
Is how I'd...
I was going to say, like, you know, obviously we've had meetups or basketball stuff, so, like, there's been plenty of people have met both of us, but I think this is might be the first person who was like randomly run into both of us at different places or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Maybe I'm forgetting someone, but yeah. Actually, it was his wife recognized me in the store. I want to say her name was Tina. Sorry if I got that wrong. She asked if I was on Blazers Uprise, and then she was like, my husband's out in the car. He's want to meet you.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's awesome, though. That's awesome. Patrick's a cool guy. Always enjoy having him here in chat. So shout out to Patrick. Anyway, as we get started with this stream, I want to give like two little minor announcements about this upcoming season. All right, two little minor announcements for the people that are hanging out with us on August 25th when things are the deadest. This is always the time of year where I'm struggling to come up with titles and stream topics, and it's not easy. But we do got a couple little announcements. So this year, we plan on having our post-game shows at least on podcasting platforms and actually sticking with that. So that's going to be something I know that's been requested a lot. That's something to look out for. So it might be uploaded like the morning after, but for those of you that watch back the morning after and don't want to go on YouTube, want to like listen on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, that's something we're planning on doing. And then also, I am currently in the process of rebuilding our website. All right. So for those of you that have been around a while, back in the day, we used to post some written content. I want to get back to that. I lost like the build of our website because I didn't pay a bill. Didn't pay a monthly bill for it, so I lost like the template. So I'm rebuilding it from the ground up. If you go to blazersuprise.com right now, you can see the start of my work on the homepage. All right. So slowly rebuilding that. It's I'm learning a lot about building websites right now. I basically spent my entire past weekend working on that website, doing some stuff for that. Not my entire weekend, but spent some time on it. So that's going to be cool. Looking forward to that, and excited to have some more written content this upcoming season as well at blazersuprise.com. So 2 fun little announcements. Aeromancer says he wants to write for me. Could we trust Aeromancer to write for us?
Yeah, I think so. I just gotta. I mean, I edited or like read over and did every article that was on there before, so I don't think that. Well, those are the ones you wrote, but so yeah.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out how we're gonna run it.
Sure he's not drunk Aeromancer.
Yeah, or that could just be a bit. That could just be a thing.
Ramblings from
Aeromancer,
Yeah.
But so the reason why I really want to do written content, though, it doesn't go with drunk ramblings from Aeromancer, because the reason why is it'd be cool to get credentialed this year. So I'm going to try, and I think having the website helps. I don't know if drunk ramblings from Aeromancer hosted on said website is going to help my case to be a professional member of the media.
We can have that like a hidden section that only people who watch our show find.
Yeah, subscribers only section. We can put it behind a paywall, Arrow. We can put it behind a paywall for channel members. I don't know how we'd work that out. But yeah, so still figuring out some things with it. It's early, but we got some time before the season starts, so looking forward to that. But yeah, man, I keep saying it every stream. I'm just kind of counting down the days until basketball starts, and I think this is going to be a fun stream, a fun topic to talk about. Don't plan on being live for more than like an hour here, and we'll take some questions throughout the stream, that sort of thing.
Well, I don't know if you read the tweet, Tori, but I also, after we talked about stats and stuff, have a question that I thought of that I'm very curious to know what your answer would be, and also everyone in chat.
We love it. We want to save that for last, I think. That's what.
Yes, absolutely.
Look at Eric, man. He knows how to hook the viewers at the start of the stream. I love it. You got me hooked. I'm looking forward to that question. But the topic of like leading scorer is what gave me the idea of this, because I think there's 2 different candidates. I think there's 2 different candidates to be the leader in points per game next year for the Portland Trailblazers, and I don't know which one I want to pick. I was asked it on the prior stream, so shout out to whoever asked that question. I was asked who I thought the points per game leader would be for the Portland Trailblazers, and I said Shaedon Sharpe. But I go back and forth on him or Deni Avdija. I think it's really tough to tell, because when you look at Deni Avdija the second half of last season, you look at his month of March where he averaged something like 23 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, looked like a legitimate star. But then you also look at Shaedon Sharpe and you look at his potential as a scorer. How many points per game he averaged when Anthony Simons was out? Well, now Anthony Simons is gone. He averaged like 27 points per game without him. So I think this is the first question for chat, the first question for you, Eric, because I don't know if you answered this question, but who do you think is going to be the points per game leader next year? Who do you think the candidates are, and what do you think that number is?
I did answer it last stream. I also said
I completely
Sharpe.
forgot.
Yeah, so Taylor brings up the only way I think Shaedon's not the leading scorer, and that's if at some point he goes to the bench, whether that's at the beginning of the season or, for effort like last year. I think that could hinder his chances. But we know Dame's out this year, so we have three guards. We I'm assuming Drew's going to start, so that leaves one spot between Scoot and Sharp for the other starting spot. Um, but I also don't think Drew is necessarily going to hold up the
Yeah.
entire season or be that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there'll be plenty of time where there might just be Scoot and Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Sharp was healthy last year, but he hasn't been the healthiest in previous years, so that's a concern as well. But I think considering Dame's out, Anthony's gone, so we don't really have that go-to scorer that we've basically just relied upon. And that's also assuming that Jeremy also has a lesser role, even less than he did last year. I think that all leads to me believing with just how easy he can score the ball, because he can get 20 pretty easily. He's done that so far the last couple of years. So I think Sharp naturally could just take a little bit of a bump, and that would, I think we're going to have a lot of guys average in the high teens, low 20s, but like I think Sharp's just going to be a little bit better than all of them.
Yeah, so what's that number for Sharp then? Like, what would be your prediction for points per game?
I think it's if he starts the whole season and is healthy, I think it's going to be around 23.
See, I kind of want to go like 20.5. It's kind of where I'm at with him, which I think is probably
Might still lead the
leading scorer. I think like right now, if I had to predict, it's like Shaden like 20 to 21 points per game, and then Denny Avdia 19. That's what I would predict right now. I think it will be very close between the two. I think Sharp. At the end of the day, Sharp takes more shots than Denny Avdia. Avdia, a little bit more of a passer, a little bit more of a playmaker, doesn't hunt his shot at quite the same rate that Shaden Sharp does. Now, I think the question is, can Sharp average 21 points per game, like, on the efficiency that he shot with last year? Because he was, I think, pretty damn aggressive in the shots that he hunted and how many threes he got up. Without an uptick in efficiency, it might not be the best thing for him to average 21 points per game. Like, he needs to become a more efficient scorer. You know, there's just volume shooting to get points on the board, and then there's efficient scoring. We want Shaden Sharp to be an efficient scorer. We want him to take good shots. We want him to make a high percentage of his shots. That's what leads to good offense. If you're just chucking a bunch of shots, you're not making a high percentage of them. Yeah, you might score 20, 21 points per game, but how much is it really, truly helping your team if you're not an efficient player? And that, I think, is going to be the thing with Shaden Sharp this season. I think he's going to be a 20, 21 point per game scorer. It's just, can he become a more efficient scorer? So we're going to be looking at his true shooting all season long. I think that's the best stat to gauge efficiency. If he can get to the line more, that's an efficient play for most players. So that would be my prediction as of today. We'll do a chat poll. So chat, you can vote. I feel like Sharp is probably the favorite. Is there anybody else in your mind, Eric, that could be the point per game leader?
Well, it's not going to be the bigs. I mean, low key, it could be Jeremy still, if he gets enough shots.
I was gonna say if he starts with Tamani, Denny, Klingon, and Drew, and Sharp and Scooter off the bench, maybe Jeremy.
Yeah. Or like if he just shoots a ton off the bench, if he's coming off the bench. Um, what did Jeremy average last year? I think it was still like
It was like
17 or something. Or was
Wasn't
it
it like
that bad?
15? It was bad, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've been telling you, yeah.
But he was at what, like 21?
14.4, Eric.
Wow,
It wasn't even
that's
15. That's
wow.
so my hate on him lately. Yeah, you look at his stats: 21 points per game 2 years ago, down to 14.4. And
Yeah.
his minutes went from 33.9 to 32.4. He barely played less.
So
Insane.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could see. I mean, like Carmelo came off the bench here his second year, like, but he didn't shoot enough to like do that. But I could definitely see Jeremy just shooting a ton off the bench. But I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Yeah.
Tamani is going to get. I think he's going to be the most likely to get good quality open shots, but unless he takes a huge creation leap, which I guess is possible, but without that, I just don't see being a spot up shooter slash, occasional slasher cutter. I don't see that leading to being the leading scorer more than Sharp or Denny. I mean, if Scoot starts and he shoots like he did from three last year, and it kind of opens up the court for him a little bit, I guess he could possibly be it. Um, Drew isn't really that type of scorer. Um, like if we had prime Chris Paul on this team, I wouldn't think he would be our leading scorer either.
Yeah.
It's just not really the type of player he is. So, um, really, that's. I mean, he wouldn't qualify for enough games, but I guess like technically, if Dame came back at the end of the season, he could be our leading
Yeah.
scorer.
If he wasn't hurt, I mean,
Per game.
that'd be the obvious answer.
Yeah.
That'd be the obvious answer.
I'm just trying to think in my head. Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly between Denny and Sharp as the only choices.
We got a comment that says Denny's our best player leading into the season. Who do you think has a chance to surpass him? Listen, I don't disagree with you. I think Denny is our best player. That doesn't mean he's going to be our leading scorer, though. He's definitely our most well-rounded quality player. But I think this is a very, very close debate, and the chat poll so far reflects that. Out of 33 votes, we got 52% for Shane Sharp, 48% Denny Avdia. I do think the next player to, like, rival or, like, potentially insert himself into this conversation would be Scoot, because I just don't think Drew's going to be, like, a 18, 19, 20 point per game scorer with us. I think the only other guy that really has a chance to be that is Scoot if he takes a step forward. And you look at per 36, he was a 17 point per game scorer per 36 like his first two seasons. So if he gets like legitimate starters minutes and a little bit more of a role, shoots a little bit more, is able to be a little bit more efficient, then you could maybe see Scoot being like a 17, 18, 19 point per game guy. But that's the optimistic outcome where that's where I expect Avdia to be. That's where I expect Sharp to be. Actually, I think it's a legitimate goal for Sharp to be like a 20 point per game scorer this year on a true shooting percentage like 56% or better. At some point in the preseason, we will set statistical goals like that for each Blazer. If we get around to doing some preview videos, normally I do that before the season, and then I always look back after the season and see if they reach those goals. It's kind of a fun thing that I've done in the past that I want to do again. Sharp, it's 56 true shooting. So, a little bit above that. That's still below average efficiency, but if he's getting 20 points per game and he's near average efficiency, like that's good enough for me. He's still young, still developing. That would be a step forward. But yeah, I think it comes down to those two. It's gonna be interesting though, because when you had Ant and Jeremy starting, you kind of knew like, okay, those guys are gonna take a lot of shots. Those guys are gonna put points on the board. Well, Jeremy until last season. With Jeremy taking a step back and then Ant being gone, there's just kind of like a void in terms of scoring. And it's just going to be a fun storyline to follow during the season to see who really steps up and takes the opportunity that is there to be had for a guy like Sharp, for a guy like Avdia. So, going to be fun to follow that all season long. I think that's maybe the closest like stat battle of the major stats, because as we move on to Rebounds. I mean, is this even a
Real,
question?
real quick to finish
Go
the
ahead.
other one.
Yeah, sure.
So this isn't necessarily directed at Ritex or anything like that, but Denny fans have to chill a little bit. Like, to say he's not going to be the leading scorer, but to say it's going to be close between him and Sharp is not saying that he's not our best player or can't be the leader of the team or whatever. Like, that absolutely can be the case, and Sharp could average more points. We're not. It's not a knock on Denny. Both Tori and I believe that Denny's going to have a really good season after finishing the season so strong last year. So, like, quit getting offended anytime Denny's not like the guy or like not 100% guaranteed to be every statistical category leader that we talk about tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he did say Denny 21.9, Sharp 20.1. That is relatively close. That was his predictions. Yeah. But yeah, like, I'm a big Denny fan. I was a fan of the trade when a lot of people were questioning the value that Joe Cronin gave up to trade for Denny Avdia. So I'm not the guy to come here and complain about not being nice enough to Denny Avdia when talking about his game. I'm just not that guy. Trust me. Like, I'm a big fan.
Once again, I'm not saying that's what was happening.
For sure. But just
we're gonna get that for sure. You know,
it's a player fan base. This is how player fan bases are. This is why no player fan base has ever really liked me because I'll say the good and the bad, and you know how that goes with player fan bases. I mean, just as long as it doesn't get as bad as Mellow stands were to me back in the day, then I'm happy. All right, I'm cool with that because that was otherworldly, man. That was insane. So when we bring up rebounds per game, I think there's two candidates for this, but I think there's one clear answer. But I guess it depends on how many minutes per game he plays. My two candidates for rebounds per game are Denny Avdia and Donovan Clingan. I don't think anybody else will come particularly close. But right now, I think if Clingan gets, 26, 27 minutes a game, which I'm kind of expecting, he's going to be like a 10-plus rebounds per game guy. I don't think Denny's going to be that, so I think it's a pretty easy answer to this one. Chat, you can let me know if you disagree, but I think it's pretty obvious Klingan's going to be not only our like leader in rebounds per game, but our best rebounder. I think the rebounding's going to be better with him on the floor than Robert Williams or Young Hansen. Now, that's not to say Robert Williams is a bad rebounder by any means, but Clingan is just massive in gobble sports. So I think our defensive rebounding is going to be hopefully better this season. I forget where they ranked last year. I'll look it up. But hopefully better this season with Donovan Clingan starting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, once again, Denny will be in the conversation. He should average somewhere between 7 and 9 rebounds per game. But, I mean, Donovan, if you look at his per 36 numbers last year, it's over 14 rebounds per game.
Yeah.
So he had over 7, right? Over 7 per game, almost 8 per game, playing less than 20 minutes last year. So he was right, even with Denny, without the minutes, pretty much. So I think now that he's clearly our starting center, and in my opinion, once again, I'm going to piss off another fan base now, the Young Hansen fan base. This isn't a knock on Young either. I am very excited about his future, but I just don't know how ready he's going to be right away, especially. And I think Donovan has a clear chance. Robert Williams, if he actually plays this year more than 26 games over 2 seasons, that could affect it a little bit. But I think clearly they'll kind of manage Robert Williams' minutes. And I think this is clearly Donovan Clingan's job as the starting center, and I expect him to play, mid to upper 20s of minutes because we just don't have a ton of depth at center. That's proven, especially if Robert's not playing. So I think pretty clearly, like you said, Donovan's going to average over 10 rebounds per game and be our leading rebounder.
Yep. Yep. I think it's just a minutes question for him. Like, how many minutes are they going to play him this year? I think 26 to 30 minutes per game is where you're going to see him. Now, if Robert Williams III gets hurt, I think you're going to see them play him as much as they possibly can, even if he's gassed.
And for the record, March last year, 14 games for Donovan, uh, averaged 25.2 minutes. So that would probably be on the low end of what you would expect this year. Averaged 9.2 rebounds in that time. And then last 7 games in April, 27.9 minutes, averaged 11.7 rebounds. So
Yeah. Denny in March averaged like 10 rebounds per game, though. So I
yeah,
don't know. If he can do that for a whole
true.
season, that is a conversation. But if he can do what he did in March all season, then he's going to lead in maybe points, rebounds, and assists per game. That's how crazy he was. So, yeah, I think that's Donovan's stat to lose. Assists per game, I think, is a three-person race. A three-person race.
Yeah.
Who are your candidates? I want to see if we align here.
Well, it's Scoot, Drew, or Denny.
Yep. Yep, we're aligned. We're aligned. Drew last year in 30 minutes a game averaged only 4 assists per game, but his last year in Milwaukee averaged 7.4. So if he has more of an on-ball role than he had in Boston, then you could see that number jump. I think Scoot is a pretty clear candidate. He's, I think, the best passer on the team. I think has like the best vision. You could make the case for Drew. I think Drew is just a veteran, where Scoot can have some special passes at times and then some rough ones as well. Like Scoot's maybe a little bit more volatile as a passer, but makes some impressive plays, impressive kick-out passes, especially when he drives the ball. I really like him as a passer off the drive, and he just has to get better picking his spots. But he averaged 5 assists per game last year in only 27 minutes per game. Per 36, his first and second seasons were at 6.9 assists. And then Denny, I mean, I would rank Denny third. But if he has the ball in his hands more, he did average 4 assists last year. If he has his hands in the ball more and they're really running things through him, would I be shocked to see him average 6 assists per game and for that to be the highest mark on the team? I wouldn't be shocked. I think that's a bit optimistic, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So that's why I include him as a candidate, although it's just tough to say without knowing how the Blazers are going to fully utilize him. If I had to pick one out of the 3, I'd probably pick Scoot because I think he's going to get a minutes boost and the ball's going to be in his hands a little bit more, and he's already shown the ability. I'll do a chat poll for these 3. Eric, who would be your pick?
I'm going to go with Scoot as well. I mean, Denny is a very capable passer, but I mean, even if he has a 2 assist, 50% increase in assists, that still only puts him at 6. And I think without Anthony here, Scoot, I mean, he averaged over 5 with Anthony. So I think that will lead to, I think it's much more likely Scoot takes if they both take a 2 assist jump, and that puts Scoot still easily above him. And if you just look at assist percentage, things like that, Scoot's almost 10% higher than him. So it just leads you to believe that Scoot in this category would be slightly better. I will say,
yeah, go ahead,
that to all the Denny fans, it is quite impressive that we've talked about the 3 major stats now, and he has been right there in the conversation. He's the only one on the team that's been in the conversation for all 3.
Yeah, he's the most well-rounded player. I think there is a world where Scoot doesn't start, and if Scoot doesn't start, then Denny might have more like point guard responsibilities with a backcourt of Shaedon Sharpe and Drew Holiday with the starting lineup.
But he had that towards the end of last year too at times. And he did increase. What were his averages assist wise the last couple months?
Yeah, so post All-Star break, Denny averaged 5.2 assists per game. 23 points, 9.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists per game, 64 true shooting percentage. Like, that was such an insane run. It was a 20-game sample, but my goodness, man. Like, it's like, we all know he was really good to end last year, but going back to these stats, it's just like, oh yeah, he was really, really good. Like, it's almost easy to forget just how good he was. Because, like, good defense with those numbers is insane. And it wasn't like he was playing 36, 37 minutes per game. It was 33.6. But like, those numbers are
and it
star
wasn't just
numbers.
like a 5-game stretch either. It was like several months. Yeah.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. In March, he averaged 5.2 assists per game. In April, in 3 games, he averaged 31.7 points, 13.7 rebounds, and 7 assists.
I mean, a lot of it was he got super hot from 3 too, which really helped his game.
Yeah. I mean, he shot 46% from 3 in March, but like even in February, he didn't play the best. In January, I think this is kind of like the closest to what this season's going to be. He was 18.3 points, 8.3 rebounds, 4.2 assists. He had a true shooting percentage of 60%, but he only shot 31% from 3. So over the course of the season, expect him to shoot a little bit better from 3, average, another point per game. And that's kind of what my predictions would be for Denny. I think January was maybe as good of a month if you're trying to look forward as March, because he was just as productive. You could make the argument he was just as productive in January as he was in March. He just didn't shoot the 3 ball as well. March, he was just outlier good from 3, 46%. You're not expecting him to do that for the course of the season. That's why his stats were so damn impressive and his production was so good. But you look at January and just how effective he was and how much he contributed to this team while still not shooting a good 3 ball because he was doing everything else. It was 8 rebounds per game. He was still efficient inside the arc, still putting up 18 points per game, still getting 4 assists. I think the month of January, you looking back at Denny, should not be slept on because seems like the type of player he's going to have months where he shoots 31%. Can he still be an 18-point per game guy? Can he still be efficient? Especially as he becomes the opposing defense's maybe main guy to game plan for. I think that's if he can overcome that, if he can still be that effective while struggling from 3, then he's going to be truly taking the next step, because he'll also have months like he did in March or in December. December, he shot 43% from 3, where he's on fire from 3 and he is torching defenses.
Yep. It will be interesting to see the improvements that hopefully Chauncey makes on offense and just how much more responsibility he gives Denny. That could impact things. Hopefully there's a lot more ball movement. I think that would definitely help Denny. If we get out and run more, I think that helps Denny too. So there's a lot of factors that I think we're assuming are going to improve this year because Chauncey said they were going to. And if he, if the team improves the way they operate on offense, I think those all lean towards helping Denny in terms of getting more assists and kind of replicating some of those numbers outside of maybe the hot shooting. But yeah, it should be easier for him next year, not harder, despite probably getting more defensive attention than he saw last year.
Yeah. I think also another thing this year for him is, can he answer the question of if he's a slow starter or not? Like, can he start the season hot? Because it took him some time to get going the last couple of years. Now, it's understandable coming to a new team in Portland and having to adjust to that, and then being taken off the bench while you're trying to adjust to that and just working through that. So I think there's reasons for it. So there's reasons for optimism that he can build immediately upon how he ended last season. But I do think, it's going to be very telling at the start of this year if he struggles again. I know he's struggling in like Eurobasket games, but I mean, those are kind of friendly games. Like, those aren't that serious. I'm not going to put stock into that. Basically, can he just start this season hot? I think that's going to be very important. To start this season well for him and establish himself as that guy, because if he starts it like he did last year, then all of a sudden you have like major questions of like, is he just always going to be this kind of streaky guy that maybe figures it out later in the year, but for 30 games he's not who exactly you want him to be. There are players like that in sports. I mean, I think the perfect antidote the perfect antonym, the perfect comparison that I'm thinking of from a different sport is Julio Rodriguez. My guy, Eric, like always sucks the first 2 months and the fan base like quits on him and then he starts tearing it up, which is exactly what he did this year. He's done that all 4 years of his career. I'm sure there's comparisons in the NBA where you just have guys that take some time to really find their rhythm during the course of a season. Hopefully Denny's not that guy, because those guys are always frustrating because you know what they can be, but it just takes them time to turn it on. So hopefully he can just build upon the end of last season.
Yeah. So what's funny about Julio is he's got almost identical stats to Ken Griffey Jr.'s first 4 years. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny how, like, it's funny how the two are thought of. Like,
yeah.
Griffey's obviously an all-time great player, but Julio's, like, been disappointing to most people.
Yeah. Well, I think the disappointment is like if he could just do what he does the second half of seasons over an entire season, he'd be like the MLB's next greatest superstar. You know what I mean? Or like would be a superstar. He would be insanely good. So it's like when he's playing like crap the first half of the season, he's making you pull your hair out. I think the comparison for Denny would be, all right, he had this month, he averaged 23, 10, and 5, was on fire at the end of the year. So then if he goes into next season and struggles and it looks like the start of this year, it's going to be extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. Even if he's still like playing decent, that's not what we're expecting out of Denny. We're expecting him to build upon what he was last year and hopefully become like a fringe star type of player. So if he's just like an okay starter, for other guys on this team, that would be great for them to become okay starters. For Denny, that is below his standard. If he's not like a top 2 player in this rotation, this team is going to have problems winning games. This team is going to have problems offensively. So outside of the guards, outside of Scoot and Shaden, and you could even make the case that he's above these guys in terms of importance. Like he is the most important player next year alongside those guys for him to like start the season hot. The Blazers have a tough schedule. He's going to be game planned for, I think, differently than he's been game planned for before. Because going into the season, I mean, who else are you really going to game plan for in the starting lineup? Like Shaden Sharp, sure, but Tabani is a defensive guy. Like Drew's a defensive guy. Klingen's a defensive guy. So he's going to have a ton of attention. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that develops the first 10, 15 games of the season.
To me, if you go back to the exit interview comments when they talked about how they figured things out, and next year it's not about having to figure it out, it's about picking up from where they left off this year, that begins and ends with Denny, in my opinion. If he is who he was during that stretch, or like somewhat close to it, obviously, like we talked about, he's not going to necessarily shoot 64% true shooting percentage the entire season. But if he is that type of player to where you're talking about him like, oh, could he be an all-star this year or whatever, if that happens right off the bat, I think this season could be one that's better than expected, or at least in contention with their stated goal of making the play-in at least. If not, if he struggles, I think we're going to be talking about this team maybe was a bit fluky last year, and maybe they're just not going to be that good, and we might not be contending for a playoff. So I think that starts with how well Denny does right off the bat. And we're not just talking about like a couple games, like the first 20 games through the season. If he's looking really good, then I think that's going to be it's going to be very well. It's going to bode very well for the Blazers.
Yep. The next stat I want to talk about, I think field goal percentage is, I don't know, like it's going to be a big, it's going to be like Klingon.
Yeah.
Somebody that's just finishing plays at the rim. I want to discuss 3-point percentage. Because there could be like 5 different candidates for this, 6 different candidates for this.
Yeah.
Who in the Blazers' main rotation is the 3-point percentage leader next season? You could make a case. I'm just going to list the guys that I think you can make a case for. You could make a case for Jeremy Grant. You can make a case for Denny Avdia. You can make a case for even Drew Holiday if he shoots like he did 2 years ago in Boston. You could make a case. I don't know if he's going to be in our main rotation, but you could make a case for Matisse Thybulle if he shoots like how he did it last season in a small sample size, right?
Always tails off, though.
Always tails off, but like you got a bunch of guys that are around 37%. I mean, if Scoot takes another step forward as a 3-point shooter like he did from year 1 to year 2, he becomes a 38% 3-point shooter. That might be like the best 3-point percentage in our rotation. So like I'm not including guys like Duop Reith, although I think Duop Reith is just a terrible pick. He's like a 35%er. Sorry, Javon, but like Duop Reith's not going to be in the rotation consistently. So out of like their main rotation guys, you can throw Young Hansen in there if you want to, but like I don't think he's going to be a part of this conversation. Chat, let me know who you think is going to be the leading 3-point percentage shooter and why. Eric, I don't know my pick yet. Do you have your pick in mind?
To me, this question comes down to, do you think Jeremy Grant has any ability to regain his shooting from his first 2 seasons of Portland, where he shot consistently 40% both seasons? It just completely fell off last year. Can he get it back to 40% or not? If the answer to that is yes, I think you got to say 40% is probably going to lead this team in 3-point shooting. So I would say that he would be it. But I'm going to say he still kind of struggles, especially if he's coming off the bench. So I believe Tamani Kamara is going to get the best quality shots. I feel like his shot has improved a lot, and I think he'll work hard all summer to improve it even more. If he just takes an incremental jump again, I think he's going to get the best quality looks and will have the best opportunity to shoot a high percentage.
Was Tamani the leader in 3-point percentage last year for our rotation guys?
He might have been.
Because Simons shot 36%. Tamani finished at 37.5%.
And what did Denny finish at?
Denny was like 36.9?
Yeah.
I should just pull up team stats for the entire team. Let me just do that.
Yeah.
Let's go to previous season, roster and stats. Shooting. Okay, so Tamani shot 37.5%. Yeah, the only players that shot higher percentages from 3 than Tamani Kamara, there were 2 players. Can you name them on the entire roster?
Did Thybulle end up being higher?
Yes, that's one of them. Can you name the other?
Higher than Tamani, you said?
Yeah.
Robert Williams?
No. Yeah, Robert Williams shot 33%.
I know I'm forgetting someone.
Chat will spoil it if you look at chat.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, Jabari.
Yeah.
Jabari, 38.9% from Jabari.
That 6 for 6 game, and
Yeah.
then was like, could not miss for like 2 weeks. And then, yeah.
That was crazy, man. That was crazy.
Forgot about Jabari for a second.
Yeah. So those are the only two players that shot better 3-point percentage. I don't know. Like, I feel like Tamani's like 36% this year. I feel like Denny's like 36% this year. Part of me.
You think somebody's going to go down?
I think he's like a 36, 37% guy. I think that's like, yeah. I think he's like right around there. I think maybe it's a little bit lower. I don't know.
See, I'm confident he's going to be consistent because he doesn't take a lot of like off the dribble, so there's not like a lot of variance in this type of
Maybe he
shot.
starts taking off the dribble threes.
I mean, maybe he does, yeah.
I mean, you look at our offensive options. Yeah, I don't know. I think even if he takes the same shot diet, like, he could be at 36%, or it could be 38. Like, it's kind of in that range. But part of me wants to say Scoot. Part of me feels like Scoot's going to be a 37 to 38% 3-point shooter this year and take like a similar step as he did last year. And of course, he had some stretches last year where he was on fire. I just trust the work that he's putting in on his shot. So part of me wants to say Scoot. And maybe that's what I'll go with, because that's a little bit of a hot take. I think Scoot's going to be a 37 to 38% 3-point shooter. So that's who I'll roll with. But, I mean, it's a crapshoot between, like, 6 guys.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Giroux shoots, like, 39% this year and just takes, like, wide-open threes and has the best percentage but doesn't shoot a ton of them, so it's not even, like, that impressive, you know? Like,
he said he was a shooter, though.
I mean, he is a shooter, but, you know, he's not going to take as tough of threes as Shaedon Sharpe or even Denny or Scoot for that example. So I would go with Scoot or Tamani. I think Tamani's going to be right around 37%. I think Scoot's going to be right around 37%. So I would love for the answer to be Shaedon Sharpe shooting 39% from 3, though. I'll just say that.
See, I think, in my opinion, Scoot, as if he improves his 3-point shooting even more, I think he's going to start taking more off the dribble ones and harder ones. So it might be, it's kind of like Anthony. You know, Anthony was definitely our best shooter, but the percentages don't necessarily say that. And people always bring that up with Dame, like, why do you consider like a 39% shooter the best shooter of all time behind Steph Curry? You know, like, it's because of the type of shots he takes. So.
That is a great point. But that'd be a great development for him to be like a 36 to 37% guy, like pulling up off screens when defenders go under. It'll be much
with a 9 attempt or 10 attempt, like Simons. Yeah,
it'll be much harder to guard him, much harder to contain him on the perimeter if you have to respect his shot like that. That was the thing with Dame that made him like a great shooter. He could shoot all these insanely difficult deep threes at a high enough percentage that defenses had to guard it, and it just stretched the defense out and like it ruined defenses. And Dame made a ton of plays off the dribble because of his threat to shoot. And when you got a guy that only shoots threes at 36% towing the 3-point line, like, you still got to respect it, but okay, you only got to guard him out to the 3-point line compared to a guy that's shooting 36% on threes, 5-6 feet behind the 3-point line. You got to go all the way out there. It's just better. When you can hit more difficult shots efficiently enough off the dribble from 3, then it makes you just 10 times harder to guard. So that was always the thing with Dame, and hopefully that can be a conversation that we can have about Shaedon Sharpe's 3-point shooting, or Scoot Henderson's 3-point shooting. The thing is with Sharp is like he does take these difficult threes. It's just not efficient enough for defenses to really have to worry about it yet. So with Sharp, it's like making a higher percentage of those. And for Scoot, it's like the percentage improved. It's like, can he become a more dynamic 3-point shooter? So it's kind of like completely different conversations with those two guys, which I think is interesting. And then I don't know what other stats you want to do, like free throw percentage. But that's always just kind of like looking at who shot the best percentage last year and guessing that guy more often than not. You know, it's so like Jeremy was 85% last year, Simons was 90%. Everybody else was like Tamani was 72, Sharp was 78, Denny was 78, Scoot was 77. Hopefully we can be a little better free throw shooting team this year. I mean, blocks per game is the most obvious stat of them all. Like, if that's not clinging, we have some major problems because he got hurt, basically. Like, it doesn't qualify. Steals per game, I mean, do you think Tamani or Thibault? Like, Thibault last season played in 20 minutes per game and averaged 2.2 steals. Tamani played 33 minutes per game, averaged 1.5. So will Thibault play enough to be the steals leader? I think is the question.
Answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's tough because if you just said, like, I forgot how they presented the stat on the broadcast, but it's just like forcing the other team to turn the ball over. It's easily Tamani.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always translate into just pure steal numbers.
Yeah, drawing offensive fouls was obviously a huge part of that for him. So,
but yeah.
Chat if there's any other stats.
I'll go there just because he's gonna play so much more, I think.
Yeah. If there's any other stats out there, turnovers per game leader.
I'm gonna say it's Denny.
I'm also gonna say it's Denny.
I think if Scoot gets the minutes, he could be close, but Denny was just.
I think that's a part of Denny's aggressiveness.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's something that you easily accept with what he does well as a player.
Yeah. It's hard to rein that in.
Yeah, and Scoot I think will
be the same player.
Yeah, and Scoot I think will improve like with his point guard decision making. I think he'll take a little better care of the ball next year. I think Denny almost needs to be a little bit reckless as somebody that's just like flying in transition and throwing his body into traffic and multiple people. That's when he's most effective. That's going to come with some turnovers.
But for the record, that doesn't mean he shouldn't take care of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's turnovers that you live with, and there's turnovers that you want to like definitely want to eliminate. You know, bad passes, missed dribbles, travels, like offensive fouls. Those are all bad turnovers. But even the offensive fouls, if Teddy's picking up a couple offensive fouls in transition but living at the line because of how aggressive he is in transition, seeking out contact, like I'll live with those offensive fouls, right? And if he's driving into traffic, like trying to make a play where he's usually making plays and he gets a couple turnovers per game because of it, but he's averaging 20 points and 5 assists and getting to the line all the time and has the most turnovers per game as well because of that style of play, like I'll live with it. You know, unless he's turning over the ball like 6 times a game. You know, I'll live with 3 turnovers per game. I'll live with some 4 turnover games even if he's putting 20 on the board, getting 5, 6 assists, like playing in traffic and really punishing defenses like that. Because that's what kind of makes him unique. So, you know, there's different, like, everybody kind of looks at turnovers, I feel like, as just a tell-all stat when I don't think it is. I think, you know, there's certain turnovers that are a product of a player playing the way that he should play and that you kind of have to live with, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Just has to cut down on some of the sloppy ones. He does have to find a way to not like some of those like obvious push off ones when he's driving. Like you said, it's hard to necessarily rein that in, but like some of those are just like so obvious.
Yeah, but I think it works for him more often than not. I don't. It would be great if he could like eliminate the bad and like keep all the good and then like expand upon that. I just think like realistically, I would rather him be more aggressive next season and live with those plays than to like try and cut them out and be a little bit more passive because of it.
Yeah, I guess.
Like I need to see a aggressive Denny Ofdia next year.
Yeah.
There should not be games where he's playing 33 minutes and shooting the ball 8 times. That's a problem. I almost would rather see him have 8 turnovers than only shoot the ball 8 times in like 33, 34 minutes. Like I'd rather him shoot the ball 20 times and have a lot of turnovers, and that means he's being aggressive and it's just a bad night. Like I can live with him being aggressive and having a bad night compared to like him not asserting himself as that guy. He needs to have that mindset and assert himself as that guy next year. And I think there's going to be some times where that may look a little bit rough, but overall it's a better thing than if he's passive. This offense needs him to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas green light is maybe a little too much for everybody, including Cam Thomas, Eric Olsen. So I don't know if anybody should have the Cam Thomas green light other than like Steph. But yeah. We were asked fouls per game. I mean, that's Klingon. Like,
I mean, if y'all plays enough,
yeah. Maybe.
Did Scoot have issues with fouls last year?
Scoot last year averaged
Not the whole season, but like
yeah, he averaged 2.7 fouls per game. Klingon averaged 2.8. Tamani averaged 2.9. So nothing like, I mean, that's a lot for a point guard. But I think Klingons came in 20 minutes per game. And he's going to be put in situations where he's going to pick up fouls. So I think it's just clearly going to be Klingon. If he goes from 20 minutes a game to like 27, 28, I think he's pretty clear cut for that one.
Yeah.
Charges taken, offensive fouls drawn. I mean, that's obviously Tamani. Triple doubles. I think triple doubles is obviously going to be Denny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much every stat that we can have a debate about there. It's a fun little exercise. Maybe somebody will remind us after the season to look back on this live stream. Trevin. I don't think Trevin's here, but yeah, maybe when I'm going back. I don't know where Trevin's been, man. We miss Trevin. But it's always fun to go back and look over streams like this at the end of the season, just how close or far off we were. I'll do that with videos from 5 years ago. If you guys ever do that with any of our old videos, leave a comment on any predictions or any thoughts you have on old content. It's kind of like a time capsule, which is fun. But anyway, Eric, I'm dying to get to this question that you have prepared for us.
You ready?
I don't know. I have no idea what you're going to ask me.
All right. So I want everyone in chat's answer as well. We could maybe do a poll. Okay?
Okay, sure.
Tori, you get a ring at your doorbell. This is going to be similar to a movie that came out several years ago.
Okay.
Outside, you find a box. You open the box, and in it is a note and a button. Okay? And the note reads, you can press this button to make your choice of Scoot or Sharp an all NBA caliber player, but in doing so, it sacrifices the other person to basically never be above average player. Do you push the button and guarantee that one of those two players becomes an all NBA player, sacrificing one? Or do you choose to just let it play out and hope that they both become good players?
The funny thing about that question is all the Sharp stands are just so ready to say, I pick Sharp over Scoot, even though that's not the question.
Yeah.
We got 3 Sharps in chat.
So, I mean, obviously, if you decide to push the button, then the next question's going to be, so who do you choose? But, I mean, as of right now, before you pick who it is, I don't think there's like necessarily a wrong answer if they're both guaranteed to be all NBA player, right? Or if one of them's guaranteed, it doesn't really matter which one you pick because they'd both be an all NBA player.
Yeah, so push the button equals one guard becomes all NBA and one, how would you phrase it?
Is never above it. Will always be a below average player.
Okay. Don't push the button. All right, chat, we'll do a poll. Push the button or not. I think it's funny, like, how people are just so ready to say, like, push the button for Sharp. I mean, if they're all NBA, they're all NBA. Like, I don't... Like, if they're both all NBA second team, would Sharp being all NBA second team be better than Scoop being all NBA second team? Like...
So are you pushing the button? Or you're just deciding,
I'm pushing the button. I'm pushing the button.
Yeah.
Like it's unlikely that both become all NBA, and if neither of them become all NBA, then it's like, okay, what's the better alternative than one of them becoming all NBA? What, they were like 2 really good starters and that's it? Is that better than one of them becoming all NBA and one of them being ass? I don't even really think that's better because you can find really good players. It's hard to find all NBA guys, so I would definitely push the button.
Yeah.
Now, who would I push the button for? Like, if you choose one of the guards to become all NBA? I think that's an interesting question as well. I know, because now that I'm thinking of it, like we're talking, I just made the point. If they're both like all NBA second team, then they're both probably similarly good, so it doesn't really matter that whole lot. I actually think it does a little bit. So 64%, and I'll get into why in a second. 64% say they'd push the button. So now the question is, push the button for who?
I'm surprised 36% wouldn't push it.
36% probably think they're both going to be all NBA, so why would you limit it to just one?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not saying that's a dumb opinion or anything.
Do you want to tell me who you'd push the button for, or do you want me to tell you?
I don't care. But I'll answer either way.
Okay, for me, this isn't going to surprise anybody, but I'd push it for Scoot. Here's why. I trust Scoot's leadership ability a little bit more, just like his personality, leadership ability. Also, like, I know he works his ass off, and he isn't the type of guy to just be, like, content being all NBA. And I'm not saying Sharp is. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. And at the end of the day, if we're talking about 2 guys that are all NBA, like, which one would you rather have all NBA? We're going to have to split hairs about, like, little intangible things. But I think for those 2 reasons, and I also think, like, Scoot, if he's all NBA, he's, like, an offensive engine, like as a scorer and a passer. Where Sharp can be a lethal scorer, but like watching Tyrese Halliburton, watching Jalen Brunson as like point guards that can pass and score the ball. Halliburton a little bit more pass first, Jalen Brunson a little more score first, and you've seen the success that they had. Like, I would trust Scoot's archetype a little bit more as an All-NBA player to like run an offense, where Sharp might make All-NBA, but it just being a volume scorer, like, you know, like if he averages 25, 26 points per game, which is very, very valuable, don't get me wrong. It's just kind of like, which archetype would you rather have? So I think we're splitting hairs here, but that's why I'd go with Scoot.
Yeah. Obviously, like people mentioned in chat, having Scoot be an All NBA player probably means he's, you know, close to leading the league in assists and stuff like that too, which means you might get some team elevation there.
Yeah.
So I think it's really close. I thought of it a little differently. One, I think Sharp has shown the ability to play make a little bit. So I think if he was an All NBA player, both his shooting percentages from three would probably be much improved, and I think he would be one of those Denny types where you could count on him to be like part of a focal point of playmaking on offense, not necessarily maybe the main point guard. But the reason I was thinking of choosing Sharp is because while volume scoring is something that you can find elsewhere, in my opinion, there are so many good point guards in the NBA, and I feel like it would be easier to find a capable starting point guard next to him versus if Scoot's the point guard, then you still need that shooting guard, and there's not as many good shooting guards in the NBA right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think you know, to play devil's advocate to that point, if there's so many good NBA point guards and you just have like an okay one, like you're really behind there compared to basically every other contender. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
if that's a good thing or a
you don't
bad
necessarily have to have an okay one. I'm just saying, like, because I mean, you could still make a move for anyone. You wouldn't be stuck with Scoot being your point guard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that point can kind of like go both ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at it like, okay, like Anthony Simons had no value in the trade market. Colin Sexton had no value in the trade market. And I'm not saying those guys are necessarily like championship level good if you have an All NBA guard. But you do also have Drew and Dame currently on this roster. So you do have, I mean, you do have 2 point guards for the next couple years. And then, you know, you could figure something out long term. But I do feel like you can trade for a point guard for much cheaper than you can like a wing or a really good.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Sharp's closer to like the Anthony Simons archetype almost. Like he's not a shooter like that, but he's in terms of just being kind of like a volume shooter, a volume scorer. Like he's more of a wing. Those guys are more combo guards, but I don't know. Like I think the thing that would scare me is Zach LaVine never made an All-NBA team, but he made a couple All-Star teams, so like you make the case he was very close. I don't know what the voting was in 2021, 2022 when he was making All-Star teams, but like I feel like there's a thin line between that archetype being like a star, maybe third-team All-NBA, and that archetype being something that's like, oh, does he really help you win a lot of games? Whereas like Scoot, if he's All-NBA, like I think he's very solidly somebody that helps you really win games. just with what he does as a passer and like potentially defensive side of the ball. Like he's not going to probably be a 20.6 point per game scorer. He's going to do it off like 10 assists, 20 points, like making good decisions, running the offense. Like, so I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. I think especially with this offseason, the way it's gone with like some of the archetypes that have had surprisingly little value on the trade market. And a lot of these guys are smaller than Sharp, and a lot of these guys like never had the upside that Sharp has right now. So it's not a good comparison, so to say. But that's where it's like, if Sharp becomes an All-NBA player, I almost think it needs to be like rounding out the other areas of his game, like you said, compared to just being like a 26, 27 point per game guy that, you know, has holes elsewhere. Like, I would rather
him.
Why are we
assuming that type would make an All-NBA team?
Because I think it could. I absolutely think it could.
So, the best example I could come up with as like that person, and let me see if you agree with that, Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Made an All-NBA team in 2021.
Yeah.
Would you put him in that category, like, of what you're talking about?
He's tricky because, like, he fell off because of his injuries. So, like, he was truly a really, really good player. But he also, like, was 6 assists per game, you know, then 4.4. I think Beal, like, at the age that Sharp is now, was maybe a slightly better passer, just was put in kind of more of a shooter role early on. You know, he had those back-to-back seasons, year 2, year 3, shot 40% from 3, playing off of John Wall, where Sharp has had the ball in his hands a little bit more. Last year averaged only 2.8 assists per game, despite taking 15 shots, despite having the ball a decent amount. Like, I think he's shown flashes, but I'm still not like to the point where I'm like satisfied with Sharp's playmaking yet. I think that's something with him having more offensive responsibility this season. That is something that needs to continue to progress. I think given where he was starting his career as somebody that like did not see the floor well, I think he's made decent progress as a playmaker, but it's still not to the point where I feel like good about it yet. He still needs to take some serious strides there. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with him taking some very difficult shots. Like his decision-making, you know, now we're kind of discussing like what it would take for him to get to that point. Like the decision-making, I think, is very important for him in terms of like shot versus pass selection.
Yeah. I will say, though, in games where the other guards have been out, Sharp, and when Sharp has handled the point guard duties, he has shown an ability to pass the ball that he doesn't show in games when he doesn't have that responsibility.
I mean, he hasn't really had that responsibility much for me to take away much from it. I mean,
I'm just saying it is in there. I have seen it. Like we've seen it in game.
Yeah, so. But like, what did CJ average assists per game when Dame was out? When CJ was the point guard, you know what I mean? Like
Sharp's also not necessarily like CJ was more of a combo guard. Sharp's not necessarily a point guard.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I just think like
him to be that guy, but
I'm always cautious with like a guy stepping into the point guard role for like a game or two or a small sample and like having insane assist numbers, because that's what CJ did, and it was like, oh, he could go somewhere else and be the point guard and be like a 7-8 assists per game guy, because look at what he averages without Dame, and then he did get that opportunity and like wasn't that. So
I mean, there were stats at one point last year that showed Shaedon Sharp was like one of the best playmaking guards out of the pick and roll in the league.
He throws a good pocket pass.
Yeah.
I think for like a wing of his archetype, he throws a really good pocket pass. It's like all the other reads and situations that he needs to improve upon.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the flashes have been there. I don't think it's fair
flashes
to say like he hasn't.
I said at the start of this, the flashes have been there.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I do think like it's in there. Like, I don't think it would be like that out of the realm of the possibility to see that be consistent. But the year before, so Beal, back to Beal, he like only made one all NBA team. the year before that, he averaged over 30 points per game with those 6 assists and did
Yeah.
not make it
Yeah.
all. Like maybe it was because he only played 57 games, but so it took Beal averaging 31 points per game even to make the third team. So, um, I mean, maybe we're talking about Sharp having to average 30 then instead of 27 just to get into that conversation.
Oh, look who we have in chat. The number one Scoot hater, Dro. This is the perfect conversation for Dro. Anyway, I don't know why we're in chat like
What's it?
talking about sending Scoot away and there's no fit for Scoot here and blah, blah, like I don't. That's not the conversation, Dro. But okay, you're entitled to your opinion.
For the record, there's no wrong answer here because either way we have an All NBA player. So like,
Yeah,
I don't think
this
anyone should be like, screw your answer, like you're stupid. Like no one.
This
should
is
be like
August
that.
debate. This is an August debate. Like this is just splitting hairs. Like I'd be happy with either of them becoming an All NBA player. I hope that if Sharp became that player, like he would become a more vocal leader. I think that's like the main differentiating thing for me is like Scoot. I think if he becomes that level of player, I think he's like a vocal leader, an energetic leader, and can like set a tone as like the best player on the team. Where like Sharp, and it's not even. I don't want to make it sound like a critique of Sharp. It's just something I like to have in a leader and a best player. It is something that I think Scoot has that personality, and Sharp doesn't. Sharp shouldn't like try to be somebody he's not. It doesn't really work, but I think that's kind of the main thing for me is I could just see Scoot like with his personality and energy and attitude, like I could see that easier in a number one guy. Whereas like Sharp, silent assassin, that's cool, but
I mean, but we also have someone like Denny still on the team that could be that guy. It doesn't necessarily have to be your best player. I mean, it's good if it is, but.
Dro says Torrey to scoop along on this team when Dame comes back. Let's say he has a rough year. Let's say he has a great year, Dro. What about that? Let's consider that possibility. I'm happy to consider that possibility. If you want to consider them both. But yeah, I mean at the end of the day, like Sharp, it's efficiency, but also continuing to take steps as a playmaker and being more consistent defensively. Scoot, it's being more consistent as a scorer, cutting down the turnovers a little bit, and just finding ways to get off efficient shots. Like, I still want to see both these guys start over Drew, which I don't think they're going to do, but I think having both these guys in the backcourt as starters playing the same amount of minutes over the course of the season would give the Blazers a good inflection point for, like, if they're choosing one at the end of the year because Dame's coming, then I think it's a little easier to compare them. Whereas, like, if you're playing Sharp 36 minutes a game and Scoot's coming off the bench for 27, it's a little harder to, like, make a decision because you basically already chose Sharp in a way. You already gave him that role. So I would like to see these guys get equal opportunity this season, and even if one struggles with it, I think it would be good to see, all right, we gave both these guys 33 minutes a game, 34 minutes a game. We started both of them. One guy really struggled, but we gave him an opportunity all season, and one guy really played well. That makes our decision easy at the end of the year with Dame coming back the following season. This is the guy we're going to keep.
Yep.
Would you also bring Drew off the bench, or are you kind of cool with whatever they do?
I'm not a fan of starting both Drew and Scoot, but anything else they do, I'm fine with.
Just because of like the. Why don't you like Drew plus Scoot? Just because like they're both point guards in your mind, or?
Yeah, I feel like they should just be a little more staggered. I feel like having Sharp allows. I don't know. I feel like the offense. I want one of Drew or Scoot with the bench unit too. So
I will make the case if you're playing only 3 guards, like you always have
2 of the 3, yeah.
2 of the 3, so you always have one as Scoot or Drew on the floor at all times, no matter if they start together or Drew comes off the bench or Scoot comes off the bench.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of the whole like, oh, play a few minutes and then go out, or like play the whole third quarter and then sit for a few minutes. Like
it kind of, I don't know. It kind of has to be one of those two things, though. If you're gonna play only 3 guards at 2 spots with them playing like 32 minutes a game,
I understand they're both gonna play together a lot, but I just think one coming off the bench just makes it so much smoother. But granted, if they want to start Drew and Scoot thoroughly outplay Sharp, then I won't have a problem with it. Like I'm not going to be like, oh my goodness, Scoot needs to come off the bench no matter what.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to like every combo. I think a pro to the Scoot Drew combo is like defensive starting lineup. That's like the best defensive starting lineup. I think I think Scoot this upcoming season will take another step defensively. I have questions and reservations about Sharp. I think Scoot's energy is better on that end. I think he showed more flashes on that end. So like the combination of him with Drew, with Tamani, Denny, and Klingon is really intriguing for me to set the tone defensively at the very start of a game. And then like bring in Sharp as a scorer, but like a con to that is maybe Shaedon Sharp's ready to step into being that number 1 guy offensively, and it's tougher for him to do it off the bench, right? So, like, there's good and bad things about any combination there. I think there are more pros and less cons to the Scoot plus Sharp combo starting and bringing Drew off the bench.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I just don't think that's what they're going to do.
No, I'd be very surprised. Like, I'm just sitting here hoping they bring Grant off the bench and it's a, 2-guard combo of some sort of those 3. I don't know, like if it's Drew and Sharp, do you trust Drew at this age after playing a couple years? Like, I know he was like the de facto point guard, but he was playing a ton off the ball. Like, I feel like the Blazers would... I don't know. I almost wonder if the Blazers would need Drew to have a little bit too much point guard responsibility.
No, because I think Denny's going to take a lot of that, and then like I said, Sharp can handle a little bit. So I think you split it between Denny and Drew, and I think you're fine. You don't need.
Yeah, I think it just requires, like at the start of the year, if you're trying to win games, which, I mean, they're trying to win games. I keep saying that because, like, it's always been a hypothetical. It's strange to say. But at the start of the year, like, if Denny's not picking up where he left off, if he, like, is a little worse, like, has a slow start, I almost think having Scoot instead of Drew is better because Scoot's a little bit more of a point guard and can take a little bit of that pressure and responsibility off Denny if he has a little bit of a slow start. Whereas if you start Drew and you start Sharp and Denny struggles a little bit to start the season, like I feel like you're ending up putting a lot on Drew.
I think we're screwed either way if Denny's
True.
that bad, so I don't think it matters.
True. That is a good point. I mean, yeah, but I almost wonder, like, Scoot, does he step up in a way that allows the team to, like Scoot has more upside, I think, next season than Drew as an offensive player. So if Denny struggles, like, the only way we'd be okay is if you start Drew or start a Scoot and Sharp and have those guys, like, really take a step forward.
I mean, look, if Scoot kills it in training camp and is clearly the best guard, then yeah, absolutely, you've got to start him and play him.
But I mean, Denny apparently was like looking like the best Blazer in training camp last year, and then got benched 10 games in because he didn't start fast. So I don't know. I mean, I guess you can make the case that it was justified benching Denny, and he turned it around. So maybe it was a good move. But
yeah,
I just struggle giving Chauncey the benefit of the doubt with start and sit in minutes decisions, just because I've seen him screw it up so many times before. it's tough for me to trust him on that.
Yeah.
Tyler J says, I sort of feel like we've seen Sharp's ceiling. Now, I definitely disagree with that. We have not, like, Sharp's ceiling is not a 31% three-point shooter. Like, Sharp, if he's able to make the threes that he takes at, like, 36, 37%, takes a huge step offensively beyond what he's shown. So I don't agree with that. Like,
Also, I mean, just his finishing jump last year
yeah.
was pretty huge. So
Maybe we've seen his ceiling as a finisher because I don't know how he finishes much better than that. But other things, he has.
I mean, I'll take that as a ceiling for finishing.
Yeah. If that could be a consistent thing for him, then that'd be awesome. It's almost such a huge jump that I wonder if like he's gonna even out like somewhere in between or a little bit under last year. Like, you know, guys always have like outlier years where they shoot really well from three, but that's like a really good season, and where they are on average is like a little below that. I feel like that might be the most likely case for Sharp as a finisher because he finished insane last year after being pretty damn bad the year before. But if this is consistently who he is as a finisher, then yeah, just wait for the three-point ball to come along, and then scoring-wise, he's going to be electric. I don't know about the passing because it's like, do you think? I know it was a small sample in year two because he only played 32 games, but like, do you think he was a better passer, a noticeably better passer in year three than he was in year two? I feel like I saw kind of the same flashes from him.
Are you talking about Sharp?
Yeah, year two to year three.
I think so. Year one, at the end of his last season,
Yeah, he went on that run while they were tanking.
I felt like he showed something that I did not think he had, and then I felt like he didn't show it at all much his second year. Except for random games when people were out. And then I felt like this last year I don't know. I feel like it was kind of similar in that it was only when one of the guards was missing that he showed that. He doesn't seem to show it when we're at full strength. Maybe that's different without Simons this year. But
Yeah. I mean, like, the point I made about CJ, it's almost like, okay, they're not full strength, so he's just, like, CJ without Dame had the ball in his hands, like, every play, basically, where our offense has been bad enough that if we're missing Ant and, you know, missing a couple guys, like, Sharp just has the ball in his hands all the time, and it's maybe a little bit easier to, you know, have a 5-6 assists per game night, you know, like make a couple nice passes because you're just coming down the floor making reads as a primary ball handler constantly, whereas if you're playing on a legitimately good team, you're not going to get that level of usage unless you're like SGA or, you know, a top 5, top 10 player in the league. So it's like, okay, can you be a good playmaker while also playing off of guys and playing within the flow and making these reads where you're not coming down with the ball in your hands every time? I think
but
that's
also,
the question.
If you're an elite finisher, are you making the right decision to shoot it more majority of the time and not pass?
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's like a lot of mid-range shots that he took because he couldn't get all the way to the rim, where it's like, okay, maybe you should take one more dribble at the defender, get him to collapse a little harder, and then kick out to the guy he's guarding. Like, those types of decisions compared to like, oh, the defense is rotating over a little bit, I'm not going to make him commit, I'm just going to shoot a step back long two. Which, like, he was a good mid-range shooter last year, too, so it's not even, like, necessarily a bad thing. I just think there's, like, nuance, and this is the case for both the young guards. There's just nuance to learn for both these guys. For Scoot, for Sharp in certain situations, and I feel like Sharp's, it's, you know, he at times can get a little shot hungry. At times he, like, isn't aggressive enough. And it's like he's passive, but it's not like he's being aggressive to pass. It's like kind of move the ball along and not assert himself. Whereas, like, when he's aggressive, he can drive the lane, collapse the defense, then create for others and get teammates good shots. So, you know, it's different. Being passive and creating for others is different. So So that's just some of the nuance like we'll try and focus on with post-game shows when we evaluate these guys all year. But I like to focus on the little things. It makes these games fun, in my opinion. So, especially if they're trying to win. So,
yeah, we can actually break down why they won or lost games.
yeah.
Instead of why did they win this game?
Yeah. Drew says, I think Drew wants to prove he's not just a role player who needs stars. I see him playing with that intensity and willing to score. I don't see Drew as the type of guy to like go out there and hunt his shot to try and prove that he's like a star. It doesn't seem like a Drew type of mindset. Like I think he plays with intensity regardless, but also like if he wants him wanting to go out there and score 20 a game doesn't mean he's gonna go out there and score 20 a game. He's 35, or is he 36 now? Forgetting, but yeah, he's getting up there in age, so like. He's only capable of doing what his body lets him do, and with him being 30, yeah, he's 35 years old. Like, hopefully he's more of an offensive threat than he was in Boston, but I don't see him being like a 18, 19, 20 point per game guy. I think it's just tough with like what the energy he has to expend defensively and him being a 35-year-old guard. Yeah, he's going to demand the ball. Okay, man. Yeah. All right. That's definitely Drew Holiday. Anyway. Imagine if Drew just decided to hijack the offense and chuck up shots. Yeah.
Who's Drew? Drew Eubanks is back?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be shooting threes for us. Shooting a lot of threes for us. Anyway, anything else, Eric?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Hope to see you guys on Thursday.
Yep, we'll be back on Thursday. Well, maybe it's time for a Would You Rather stream. Maybe it's time for a, a chat-focused, a full chat-focused stream.
We just gotta remember to post a prompt tomorrow or something.
Yeah, I mean, you should have access to post it.